segment 6 and 9. In this discussion, we'll be looking more at after you exit the startup phase, what do you do if you're a small to medium-sized business company? I'm on page 276. This was another case study analysis that you read in relation to a kebab type company. Now, I thought this was actually a real interesting read. The first one was how thorough was the trademark protection? And if you saw, for example, on page 279, you see all the different trademark registrations that he went through and that he actually registered. So as far as thoroughness, I would say it was very thorough, that he went ahead and not only he was trying to get a number of logos registered, but in addition to that, he also was trying to get domain names and other things of that nature. So both of those, I think, would be two common approaches for with respect to branding and trademark type protection. The second question that I had there is, in addition to protecting the name, what else did he seek to get rights to? And that would be the domain name rights. Second question is, what competitive advantage does the industrial design give him? So the competitive advantage here is that at a minimum, this cardboard little package box that they would use to serve the kebab in became something known for them. And so a lot of their customers were having issues with actually eating it in a manner that it didn't completely fall apart. So they came up with a very easy, innovative type solution that communicates to the consumer that they are listening to ways in which they want things to be improved. So this goes a little bit to the concepts behind trademark as far as establishing confidence from the consumer to the source of the good. And in this case, both the packaging would be associated with that specific company. And so from that point of view, they would have some rights as far as the innovation that they produce there. But additionally, this has a lot of similar type themes to trademarks in general, because it gets to the brand and the ownership of the identity of what it is that you're actually getting as well. So I helped them to really make sure that they had something that others would recognize was actually theirs as well. Now, looking at the slides, this is again small and medium type businesses. So the first question, same question that we asked last round: why should you get IP? As far as protecting the core assets, that kind of remains the same. We still want to foster innovation. We want to potentially branch into other research areas that are outside of the core assets. So we want to protect the core assets, but in the startup type phase, the mentality is very much, okay, we need to make sure that those core assets are protected, and we may do that through some cost-effective type measures. When you're getting to a small medium business type phase, it now comes the question, okay, where's our fences and how can we broaden our fences? Or potentially, how can we add to our fences in a manner that really kind of separates us from the competition that is out there as well? So protecting core assets, still definitely something that you focus on small medium business phase. You can also, in addition to that, be looking much more at branching out into peripheral areas associated with those core assets. As far as increasing leverage, one, with respect to the market, you can be looking at increasing your public image. You can be looking at deterring patent litigation. So people come against you, they know that you have a robust portfolio, they know that you will probably respond with some countermeasure. You can also exclude others from making, using, selling. Usually, how do you exclude others? That would involve some type of litigation. For small and medium-sized companies, usually litigation is still not a viable option yet, because those resources that you have coming through are usually towards growing the business, growing the research and development, not necessarily a lot of litigation. So the reality is that you have those rights you can assert if needed. You have those rights that you can defend yourselves with, but you may not necessarily be going proactively out and offensively using those rights. As far as positioning the company against other competitors, You can use the IP, as I indicated, offensively or defensively, and you can also license the assets. So you don't necessarily even have to go through litigation to license. Nowadays, more often than not, you do. But that being said, I'm aware of other campaigns where they go forward and they do not necessarily file litigation in order to get their licensing campaign going. Last but not least, position the company against competitors. You could potentially get rid of your assets. Now that almost seems, well, why would you even get rid of them? And some of that reason may in fact be related to your public image. And if you're trying to really build your public image, which you're really trying to do, generally small and medium-sized business companies, you're trying to build that image and what it is that you'll be known for. And so one thing that you may want to really adopt is, we will partner with the market, we will partner with competitors, we'll partner with anyone that really advances forward technology. So it depends again on the focus of the company, but that definitely is an option that we have seen in the past. As far as managing, aggregating, yes, you do have more matters than a startup phase, but it's usually not necessarily exhaustive or something that is too time consuming. Organization structure, you may want to transition from just a mere Excel type document to potentially an employee who is dedicated just to managing IP assets. You may want to have a more robust database working with your attorneys that they in fact are really looking at the value of the patent assets as they go through the prosecution process, so that the attorneys can see, oh, this is ranked high internally with respect to the company. We need to make sure that we are really maximizing opportunities there. That being said, there are two things that small and medium business companies really need to focus on. And the first would be confirming, because small and medium business is often a time of much change. So they may have been acquired, they may be acquiring. So during this volatile stage, they may be acquired by a bigger company, or they may be actively acquiring to grow their own company. Whatever it be, there may be some change of assignment. So you need to be tracking the flow of ownership of these assets. And not only that, but with all these different parties potentially coming to the table, there may be several different types of outside counsel. So that outside counsel you would also need to be tracking. You may want to consider pulling it to just one umbrella under one outside counsel. Last but not least, you want to continue to develop IP policies and strategies. Policies, for example, before we're looking at policies to really incentivize inventors with respect to startups, for small and medium business companies, your policies here may want to ensure that, for example, with respect to confirming IP matters, that the assignment is correct in the first place. Or the inventors, when they are brought on board, that from day one, that everything is signed over to the company properly, that you get their signatures, that everything is nice and clean. Not only that, but you may want to develop some internal outside counsel policies so that things are much more consistent. So companies sometimes will have multiple firms all working on patents for them. But what may occur is that each firm may have their own templates or their own preferred way of doing it. And so you may literally have 4 different but 4 different styles that you are reviewing when you actually get input from your outside counsel. And what you can do is start creating your own internal templates that you send to the firms and say, you know what, this is our company template, make sure you fill it out accordingly. That way, when input comes in from the outside counsel, it all looks consistent. It's a consistent feel, it's a consistent review type process. As far as GPS is concerned, timing, it's small and business is really a time on positioning themselves. So they are obviously still generating, but the focus now is some time has passed. In that time that has passed, the market may now actually be catching up to their patent portfolio. Thus, positioning is really the time for them to really be actively looking at asserting or defending those rights, more defending unless they have some revenue source that would support actual litigation. they will be focusing primarily on how to use their IP to advance their position in the marketplace. Last but not least, securing, there may be some license type agreements, probably little maintenance management, because the assets, again, are likely not old enough where maintenance is coming into play yet. Now, an example for you is Tesla. Tesla a few years ago had a very interesting approach to how it is that they were managing their IP and their views on IP. And there were a lot of news article stories that were written as to how it is that Tesla's views differed from a lot of other companies out there. They indicated Tesla Motors was created to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport. If we clear a path to the creation of compelling electric vehicles, but then lay intellectual property landmines behind us to inhibit others, we are acting in a manner contrary to that goal. Thus, and this is the big sentence, Tesla will not initiate patent lawsuits against anyone who, in good faith, wants to use our technology. What did they do here? They indicated that they would not, anybody that uses any of their inventions that are protected, they will not sue them. Now, the caveat here is that anyone who, quote, in good faith, uses their technology. But the reason why, and you may be saying, well, why would you do this? I mean, you're in essence telling your competitors, use everything that we hold near and dear and true to us. But they said that at Tesla, we felt compelled to create patents out of concern that the big car companies would copy our technology. So when they were in a startup phase, they were concerned that other car companies would copy them. So what did they do? They went ahead and they saw patents as a means to protection. They indicated that after time, however, what ended up occurring was that the competitors were now not interested or as interested in actually going into this market that they were now dominating. And so they said, we believe that applying the open source philosophy to our patents will strengthen rather than diminish Tesla's position in this regard. So in short, they indicated to a lot of the big auto manufacturers out there, please go ahead and use our technology however you want to use it, because at the end of the day, we will not be suing you for your use of what it is that we have invented. It's really, again, a very interesting shift that they have done here. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with respect to Tesla, you may be saying, well, does this mean that Tesla, in essence, paid for a lot of money for its patent portfolio that's not getting any money back on now? And what's interesting is that Tesla specifically indicated anybody that was using its technology. Its technology meaning in relation to its car type patents. But what Tesla did not put into this open source type policy were all of the patents related to its battery technology. So what's interesting here is they were providing the means so that other cars using the same technology can now be created and they will not engage in any lawsuits against them. But those cars implicitly will need good batteries. And at the time, Tesla was building its Gigafactory as really one of the largest, fastest production type battery centers in the world. And so what's interesting is that they may have purposely said, okay, we will dedicate Tesla inventions to the public under some open source type policy, but the batteries we will keep behind. And this is almost a carrot and stick type initiative where go ahead and use our inventions and they're using them, but it's relying on another division that's not associated with Tesla. And that may be what's going on here. We don't know exactly. And that's just me hypothesizing behind the scenes as to why it is they would take these steps that potentially may devalue some of their own patent portfolio. And my conclusion by analyzing all of this was that they were interested, one, at having a good public image, and two, where the real money was probably in the patents for the batteries. And that was something that they still retained onto. So what is the value of IP? Is its IP no longer of any use? as I indicated in the past, IV can be used to attract assets, to attract investors and to protect core assets, and it served that purpose at a minimum. When it got into a larger size company, small and medium business size, it now was all about positioning, and it positioned itself in the marketplace to create a very specific public image, and also position itself in the marketplace so that anybody using that technology for free will then almost implicitly have to rely on another revenue source for the company. Now you can see that there are different strategies that have been applied by other companies and that are in essence similar to what it is that Tesla has done here. So you can see on the last line, Tesla indicated it will not initiate any patent lawsuits, who in good faith want to use our technology. That's all of Tesla's patents. But you can see that there are some other companies, and some of these I would qualify are much more established type companies. Monsanto, even the Myriad Genetics, Southern California Edison. These companies in fact are probably more established type companies, but they also have some policy to pursue dedication of their IP in a manner that corresponds with the public image that they're trying to create as well. You can see that Southern California Edison, there's only in essence one smart metering type technology that they are given away in essence for free, because they're trying to probably promote this smart metering type technology. Myriad also has, with respect to its diagnostic patents, a similar type policy, as well as Monsanto with its genetically modified seeds, that they will never assert those rights where trace amounts of it have been found in other farmers' fields. So if the farmer inadvertently, let's say a wind came up, some of those seeds landed on their field, they supposedly will not assert any rights to those genetically modified seeds on the other field. The question is whether or not, how does the EU define inadvertent, which would be very much similar to Tesla's position on whether or not in good faith somebody is actually using that technology.